Franco Columbu, nicknamed Samson of Sardinia, was born on August 7, 1941 in Olympia, a small mountain town in the central region of this small Italian island. Already in his teens and encouraged by the owner of the gym where he used to train, he began to practice boxing. Every day, after a hard day's work in the countryside, he cycled 30 kilometers to the gym, where he would train intensely, for 2 hours. With this routine of hard sacrifice, he will be Italian amateur boxing champion. At the age of 24 he travels to Munich, seeking the fortune that he was not finding in boxing. It is there that he meets Arnold, who encourages him, seeing his wear physique, to focus on bodybuilding. Training 2 hours a day with Arnold and helped by good supplementation, he gained 40 pounds of solid muscle in just 6 months. This would be the beginning of a great friendship between both. If Franco stood out for something throughout his career as a bodybuilder, it was because of his enormous strength. In 1967 he would participate in the German strength contest, winning with a margin of 50 kg over his closest rival. He began working as a taxi driver, which would allow him to train with Arnold at almost any time of the day. After setting several German squat, deadlift and 3 bench press records, he decides to focus his training on bodybuilding. That year he is presented to Mr. Germany, finishing 4th. In 1968 he wins Mr. Italy, at the age of 26. In the amateur Mr. Universe, he wins the title of the most muscular man. And he is second in the short category, behind Wilfred Sylvester. Despite this second place, he manages to impact the in-room audience, showing an extremely rocky physique for the time. At that time, he told his friend Arnold, "In London, I'm going to show them how far I can go, and you'll be proud to have helped me get these results." He soon returns to Munich to continue his training together, the Austrian Oak, preparing for Mr. Europe, getting the first place in the event in the middle category. That same year he manages to win the NABA Mr. Universe, also getting the trophy for the most muscular man. Later, he was second in the IFBB Mr. World, in the lower category, that would be held in Belgium. At that point, it was clear that Franco's future was in bodybuilding, where he began to achieve those results that he did not find in boxing. That same year, Arnold convinced Joe Weider to carry back his friend to the US, claiming that Franco was the perfect training partner, and that he always made him reach the maximum of his level. The friendship between both was as strong as their desire to train. They met at the mythical Gold's Gym in Santa Monica. At that time, by the hand of Joe Gold, it will begin to be in the center of the so-called bodybuilding mecca. At the same time, Arnold and Franco started a small business of reforms and construction called European Brickworks, although they affectionately called it pumping bricks. In 1970, and thanks to the $3,000 contributed by Joe Weider, and together with Arnold, Frank Zane and Dave Draper, were able to travel and compete in the Mr. Universe in London, finishing second in a controversial final, behind a young Chris Dickerson. It is commented that, in that contest, one of the judges negatively valued Franco for considering that he was too muscular. In the 1971 Mr. Olympia held in Paris, he was disqualified along with being Sergio Oliva, for having participated, that same year, in other federations' competition, because of the rivalry between them. The following year, Mr. Olympia moved to Essen, Germany. Franco would be in 5th place, behind Frank Zane, in one of the closest events in history between Arnold, Sergio and Nabret, all true giants. At that moment, Franco decides to change his training and modify his diet, with only one goal on his mind: to win the Mr. Olympia. In 1973, Mr. Olympia was held in the city of Brooklyn, New York. Franco would achieve, thanks to hard training, the second place ahead of Serge Nubret. For Franco, arm training was paramount. If your arm development is poor, your posture becomes unattractive, so your arms should always look good. With the division of Mr. Olympia in two weight categories. In 1974 and 1975, he would win in the under 200-pound class, with rivals such as Frank Zane, Ed Corney and Albert Beckles. In overall, that was decided at the top of each class, and despite his 185 pounds of pure chiseled muscle, he couldn't do anything against his friend and teammate Arnold, and his 235 pounds of Herculean proportions. Arnold would announce his retirement after getting his sixth Mr. Olympia. There is no doubt that after the withdrawal of his friend, 1976 would be the year of Franco. That year, in Columbus, Ohio, he would win his first Mr. Olympia title. Win both, in his category and in the absolute, delegating second place to an emerging Frank Zane. The final did not disappoint the large audience, exhibiting both extraordinary physics. In 1977, and when everything seemed to favor Franco's career, when he participated in the first edition of the Strongman, he suffered a serious break in his right leg, in one of the challenges. Even so, he would remain in a creditable fifth position. The doctors, after 6 hours of intervention, were able to fix his leg, but his future as a bodybuilder was not clear. That same year, he received his doctorate as a chiropractor in Cleveland. Studies that served him to be able to apply them to his recovery. Showing a strong willpower, in just 3 years, he would be competing again at the highest level. Franco has always prioritized heavy training. He considered that heavy training gave him that hardness and density that were characteristic of him. His preparation was devastating. Training twice a day, hard and relentless. With the confidence of a job well done, in 1981 he would return to the city that years ago had crowned him king of bodybuilding. In Columbus, Ohio. The competition on stage was tough. He had to face Tom Platz, the Golden Eagle, who had greatly improved the upper part of him, showing a more balanced appearance. Roy Callender, who in Australia had presented a much improved physique. Danny Padilla, the giant killer, the 4 times Mr. Universe, Dennis Tinerino and the relentless Chris Dickerson. Many of them had understood that wanting to be a champion did not necessarily mean adding meaningless muscles. Frank Zane had shown that in previous years. In this way, some like Roy Callender or Danny Padilla had lost weight in order to get those cuts and striations. But a colossal Columbu would demonstrate what happens when you add the willpower to the force of muscle, indisputably obtaining his second Mr. Olympia title. But there is another Franco, the smart family man with great business sense. After divorcing Anita, his first wife, he married Deborah. With her he would share the rest of his life. In her, he always had unconditional support both in bodybuilding and in his career on the big screen, where he starred in small roles, many of them thanks to his great friend Arnold. Among them stand out Conan the Barbarian, Terminator, or The Running Man. He would also star in some films that were relatively important in some European countries. Another of the facets that Franco devoted his efforts to was the physical preparation of a Hollywood star, such as Sylvester Stallone, who hired his services for the filming of Rambo in 1985. Franco's Columbu had been an exceptional athlete in all aspects, and definitely the best pound-for-pound bodybuilder of his time. His strength and muscular development has inspired and continues to inspire a whole generation of iron lovers. There is no doubt that his departure on August 30, 2019 was a blow to all lovers of the golden era. His eternal friend Arnold dedicated these words to him.
I love you, Franco. I will always remember the joy you brought to my life, the advice you gave me, and the twinkle in your eye that never disappeared. My life was more fun, more colorful, and more complete because of you. I will always miss you, but I'll also know that a part of you lives on in me, in Debbie, in Maria, and in the millions of people you inspired every day you lived.
If there has been something that has marked the life of this bodybuilder, boxer and actor, it has been the iron determination to fulfill his dreams. There is no doubt that he has been, and will be, one of the greatest exponents of the golden age of bodybuilding. And that is why he will always live in the hearts of all those people whom he continues to inspire. Goodbye, Franco. Iron lovers, we miss you.